It is October 7th, 1952. You are born in Leningrad. The city is still bleeding from the scars of the deadliest siege in human history. You don't open your eyes to gold and privilege. You open your eyes to a communal apartment. No hot water, no bathtub, a shared kitchen. You are a small, thin boy in a brutal post-war courtyard. You learn your first lesson of power not from books, but from a cornered rat on the stairwell. You chased it with a stick, and suddenly, having nowhere to run, it turned and attacked you. You never forgot that. When there is nowhere to retreat, you must attack first. You are smaller than the street gangs, so you find an equalizer. Judo. You learn that power isn't about raw size, it is about leverage. It is about using your opponent's weight against them. You learn to fall, you learn to stand up, and you learn to wait for the exact fraction of a second to strike. You are building an armor of absolute discipline. You don't want to be a scientist. You don't want to be a factory worker. You watch spy movies and realize that one man, armed with information, can decide the fate of armies. At 16 years old, you walk straight into the reception of the KGB directorate in Leningrad. You tell them you want to join. They tell you to go get a law degree first, so you do exactly that. You don't argue, you execute. By the late 1970s, you are an officer of the KGB. You are trained to read people, to recruit them, to find their weaknesses, and to remain completely invisible. You are the sword and the shield of the greatest empire on earth. You believe this system is eternal. 1989. You are stationed in Dresden, East Germany. You are a lieutenant colonel. But the eternal empire is cracking. The Berlin Wall falls. A furious, unpredictable mob of thousands surrounds the local KGB headquarters where you stand. You are burning highly classified documents in the furnace so fast that the oven explodes. You call the local Soviet military command for armed backup. The voice on the radio delivers a sentence that will echo in your mind for the rest of your life. We cannot do anything without orders from Moscow, and Moscow is silent. Moscow is silent. The heart of your empire has stopped beating. You step out onto the porch, alone. You tell the mob in fluent German that your men are armed and will shoot to kill. The crowd hesitates. They retreat. You survive. But the trauma is absolute. You watch the Soviet Union collapse. You watch your country surrender to the West without a single bullet fired. You vow that you will never let Moscow be silent again. Open your eyes. It is the 1990s. You are back in St. Petersburg. The empire is dead. Capitalism has arrived, and it is a blood sport. You are no longer a spy. You are the deputy mayor. You navigate a wild, lawless jungle where oligarchs buy factories for pennies and the mafia controls the ports. You are the quiet, efficient man in the gray suit who solves problems. You watch how money corrupts. You watch how power is bought. You study the men who think they own the new Russia. You remember their faces. In 1999, the Kremlin is in a panic. The sick, alcoholic President Boris Yeltsin is losing control. The state is bankrupt. They need a loyal, quiet successor. They look at you. They think you are a manager they can control. They have no idea what they just woke up. August 1999. You are named Prime Minister. The country is terrified. Terrorists are blowing up apartment buildings in Russian cities. The nation is waiting for a savior. You step to the microphone, your voice cold and mechanical. You say you will hunt the terrorists down everywhere, and if you catch them in the toilet, you will waste them in the outhouse. The elite is shocked by your street slang, but the people, The people hear a predator who is ready to protect the flock. Your approval ratings explode. On New Year's Eve, Yeltsin resigns. He hands you the nuclear briefcase and tells you to take care of Russia. You sit in the Kremlin. You are 47 years old. You are the president. The quiet judoka from Leningrad is now the ultimate authority. But you don't really have power yet. The country is owned by a dozen billionaires, the oligarchs. They own the television networks, the oil and the gas. They think you work for them. You invite them to a meeting in the Kremlin. You look them in the eyes and offer a new social contract. You tell them they can keep their stolen billions, but they must stay entirely out of politics. Some think you are bluffing. Mikhail Khodorkovsky, the richest man in Russia, funds opposition parties and tries to sell his oil empire to the Americans. In 2003, you send special forces to board his private jet. You put the richest man in the country in a metal cage in a courtroom. The rest of the billionaires fall to their knees. You didn't just break a man, you took the state back. You took control of the oil and gas, transforming them from mere resources into the ultimate geopolitical weapons. In your early years, you tried to play by the rules of the West. You were the first foreign leader to call George W. Bush after September 11th. You offered American troops bases in Central Asia. You wanted Russia to be an equal partner in the global boardroom. But you quickly realized the harsh truth. Washington doesn't want partners. Washington wants vassals. They withdraw from the anti-ballistic missile treaty. They start expanding NATO, moving the military machine directly toward your borders, despite promises made to Soviet leaders. 2007. The Munich Security Conference. You stand before the leaders of the Western world. You don't read a polite diplomatic script. You drop a hammer. You tell the United States that its unpolar world model is a dictatorship, a system that creates endless wars. The room goes dead silent. The West thinks you were just a bitter leader of a declining gas station. They don't realize you are announcing a new era. You stop asking for a seat at their table. You decide to build your own. 2014. A revolution happens in Ukraine, supported by Washington. You see the American military machine preparing to park its ships in your historic port of Sevastopol. You don't hesitate. You send in the little green men, soldiers without insignia. You annex Crimea without firing a shot. The West hits you with sanctions, but your popularity at home reaches absolute peaks. You have returned the pride of an empire. But the chess game is not over. The ultimate standoff with America is inevitable. You build your gold reserves. You create a fortress economy. You pivot to China, forging an alliance to dismantle the dominance of the US dollar. February 2022. You cross the ultimate Rubicon. You launch a full-scale military operation. The West tries to crush you. They freeze hundreds of billions of your reserves. They supply endless weapons to your enemies. They try to cut you off from the global system entirely. But you planned for this. You use energy, grain, and geopolitical leverage to divide Europe and rally the global South. You are playing the longest, most dangerous game of judo in human history, using the weight of the Western financial system against itself. The life of Vladimir Putin is not a political fairy tale. It is the ultimate, brutal masterclass in the mechanics of power. It is the story of a man who realized early that Moscow is silent only when leaders are weak. He proved that discipline, endless patience, and an absolute refusal to be a victim can allow one man to redraw the map of the world and challenge the greatest superpower in history. But look at the cost. True power requires absolute isolation. To protect the throne, you must suspect everyone. You sit at the end of a 6-meter-long table, isolated from the very humanity you manage. Most of you watching this will never command a nuclear arsenal, but you face your own silent Moscow. You face moments when the system fails you, when your boss betrays you, when the market crashes, and you are left completely alone. Do you panic? Do you wait for orders? Or do you step out onto the porch and take control of the crowd? We don't judge the morality of kings. We study their blueprints. Stop waiting for the world to invite you to the table. Learn leverage. Learn patience. And when there is nowhere to retreat, remember the rat in the stairwell. Your move.